Hi guys, welcome back. Today we're doing the next part of What If Chichi Became a Saiyan. Now, last time we were here, we saw the likes of the Saiyans taking up training with Whis and getting ready for coming up against Universe 6, where we see the likes of the Sun family and Vegeta family heading into the hyperbolic time chamber. With all 7 people heading in, they spend 2 whole years in there, and eventually leave after this time. With Goten and Trunks having aged up during this time in there, the group all leave and are now ready to head towards the tournament. With the group heading off towards Capsule Corp, where Whis waits for the group, everyone not needing to take a shower thanks to Chi-Chi being there, the groups get sent off to the unnamed planet, where things go a bit like normal. However, some small changes are apparent, with the likes of Team 7 and 6 having 2 more members than in canon, with the likes of Universe 7 heading up to the testing area, where we get to see the normal interaction between Universe 7 Saiyans and Kaba. However, there is one small change here. There are 2 other Saiyans. With them walking up to the Universe 7 Saiyans, with one of them being pretty loud, she introduces herself as Khalifa and introduces her friend as Kale. With the likes of Khalifa taking an interest in Chi-Chi. However, the group soon have to sit down and go through the exams. With everyone passing here, with Goku being the only close call, however, he does a bit better than his counterpart. Now with this done, the tournament itself will go a bit differently, with each fighter only getting to fight once. This is for a few reasons. Champa wanted to try and stretch out this tournament in his favour, hence why he made it so each fighter can only fight once, hoping that that way some of Beerus' students will lose and he can pull ahead and win. But also so his fighters can sort of be tricky about how they play. The team splitting up, they get ready to choose and send in their first fighter, with Universe 6 sending in Botama like normal. Team Universe 7 sends in Trunks first, with some people like Vegeta and Goku having called dibs on the likes of Kaba and Hit. This led to the others having to try and pick off which fighter they want, and unfortunately for Trunks he ended up with Botamo. Now, Botamo versus Trunks is a very fast match, however Trunks does have to have some fun from this, and he messes around with the Pooh Bear for a while. However, Trunks wins this match with ease, with Universe 7 taking the first victory, leading to Beerus boasting a bit, with the next match beginning, which is Frost versus Gohan. Gohan, seeing the similarities between Frost and Cold, he decided to go into this fight against the Frost Demon. This leads to Gohan thinking that he can get a good fight out of this, with Gohan and Frost fighting for a short while before Gohan asks the Frost Demon if he can transform. With Frost saying yes, the demon jumps up to final form. With everyone other than Piccolo surprised by this, the likes of Piccolo fills in the group about what happened and what they learnt about when King Cold pushed onto Earth a few months back. And they soon learn how Frieza could transform much like Frost just did. With everyone shocked to hear this, they all think that they kind of got lucky then that Vegeta didn't give him the chance to transform. And they also ask how did the fight with King Cold go, with Piccolo explaining how, well, I won with ease and he was only about as strong as Cell, which is a relief to everyone. And once everyone had learned this, Gohan and Frost fight for a bit longer, before the likes of Frost realises he can't win, and he goes to poison Gohan, which does lead to Gohan getting knocked out of the ring. Keep in mind Gohan didn't transform for this fight at all, he stayed in his base wanting to try and have a fun fight out of this. And once Gohan is ringed out, this leads to the universes being tied. Gohan is confused at what happens, and Frost does be a good sport and pick him up, keep his nice guy act up. And with this done, Piccolo promises to win the next match, heading into the arena, getting ready for the next match. And this leads to Vegeta versus Piccolo. This fight is quite easy for Piccolo. Piccolo would mess around with Vegeta for a while, trying to figure out his weakness, before eventually figuring it out, and throwing a good insult his way. This leads to the Namekian winning this fight with ease, and this puts Team 7 in the lead again. However, when Goten enters the ring next, Champa sends in one of his Saiyans, Kale, with the next fight being Kale versus Goten. Now this fight is fun, with Goten wanting to have a nice relaxed fight with this Saiyan from another universe. He messes around with them for a little bit in base, and soon realises that Kale doesn't have a lot of confidence to her. And after he's had a bit of fun, he asks her if they should take this up to the next level, and he is the first Saiyan in the tournament to show off Super Saiyan. Although once showing off the form, he soon gets explained to him how no Universe 6 Saiyan can transform. With him hearing this, he decides to try and teach Kale how to do it, And he feels confident in doing this because he does teach sometimes at his brother's dojo. He did choose a name for it, and because lots of people wanted it, he decided to go with the Turtle School. He asked Master Roshi for permission from this, obviously, and Master Roshi was thrilled to hear that Goku's son wanted to do a dojo in his honour. Alongside this, Master Roshi knew this would be a good way to make sure Earth always had strong defenders on it. Whether they be human, Saiyans, or some hybrid in the middle, they will always have some sort of fighter to defend it. So Master Roshi allowed this, and he also offered to come and teach some students every now and again, whenever Gohan would like to. And yeah, that's the name of the dojo. I liked some of the suggestions, but loads of people did say the Turtle School, so I did go with it. Now back to the fight, we see the likes of Kale being taught how to go through Super Saiyan, and the girl can't really grasp it. Goten, not having it in his nature to be mean, doesn't want to bully her into transforming her or scaring her, so he spends some time trying to help her. With the likes of Khalifa and Kaba listen to everything Goten says very carefully, and soon the pair begin to get very close to one another and try talking to figure out what Goten is saying, just to try and help one another unlock this form. However, this sparks up some jealousy and some rage in Kale, and it only took a little bit for Kale to get angry and transform in cannon, and this is enough to make her berserk. Goten, not being ready to attack, is caught off guard by the buffed up rampaging girl. With Goten managing to avoid an attack in his Super Saiyan form, he quickly jumps up to Super Saiyan Blue for the first time, showing it off to the rest of the fighters, and he begins to try and fight back against Kale. However, he can't do anything to stop her, with Kale eventually ringing out Goten, while turning her attention towards Kaba and rushing towards him. Kaba, not ready to fight, quickly gets ready. However, when Khalifa steps in front of the likes of Kaba, this slowly calms down Kale, and she eventually drops back down to her base form. Goten on the ground pulls himself up and tries to recollect himself. With the likes of Kale waking back up, she asks what happened, with her sister explaining it to her very fastly. She looks shocked and heads over to Goten, apologising for what happened. Goten says how it's no hard feelings, he just wasn't expecting her to be so strong. With her sort of surprised by this, she isn't sure if she was that strong. However, Goten soon says how hopefully they can fight again, and next time he'll win, before bowing in a respectful way. With her awkwardly copying him, Goten flies back up into the ring, holding on to his gut where he got hit by one of her punches, which still stings, with Chi-Chi quickly checking over her son. The boy is fine, and he tells his mum to get into the ring. With her agreeing, she walks in, and this leads to Khalifa walking into the ring as well. This leads to Khalifa versus Chi-Chi, where we see the likes of Khalifa and Chi-Chi having a small bit of small talk. The pair actually get on pretty well, thanks to the fact they're kind of similar, and this is pretty fun, as Chi-Chi is a good bit different from her canon counterpart, meaning that they can get on a bit better. Chi-Chi is a bit more like Goku here, so this is a nice little master-student relationship which is kind of forming. However, something Chi-Chi doesn't like is how rude the Universe 6 Saiyan is, and she actually scolds her about this. Chi-Chi, who says how they should just get to fighting eventually. The pair mess around in base form for a while, with the likes of Chi-Chi eventually jumping up to Super Saiyan. Khalifa, annoyed that she can't do this, continues to fight. Chi-Chi throughout the fight slowly coaches Khalifa through it, with the girl eventually understanding it and jumping up to the Super Saiyan form herself. With this leading to Chi-Chi praising the girl, the two fight for a short while longer before Chi-Chi decides she needs to end this fight. She jumps up to Super Saiyan Blue and knocks the girl out of the ring with ease. Khalifa is amazed at the power of Chi-Chi, but also at the power of Kale, who managed to fight one of these blue hair formed Saiyans and actually one-shot them. And Khalifa decides that she will try and get as strong as possible, and declares how next time they fight, she will win. Chi-Chi's happy to hear this, and they both head off back to their respective teams. This leads to Universe 7 pushing ahead once more, and the next fight starts happening, with this being Kaba versus Vegeta. Now, this fight goes a lot like canon. Nothing changes too much other than the fact that Vegeta is a bit stronger here, and Kaba has an easier time turning Super Saiyan thanks to the fact he has seen two people do it, which does make the fight a bit faster, but this still leads to Vegeta winning in the same fashion. And it's probably an easier win for Vegeta thanks to the fact that he's a good bit stronger than his canon counterpart. And this pretty much confirms the victory for Universe 7 already. and all they need to do is just relax, with them almost calling off the last fight. However, an excited Goku doesn't want to be left out of all the fun, and he starts annoying Beerus to let the last match go through, and eventually they do agree to do this. Now, this fight from the get-go is taken a lot more lightheartedly, as Team 7 has already won. With Goku and Hit already knowing this, they have quite an easygoing fight. However, once Goku goes into his Super Saiyan God form, the fight gets a lot more serious, with Hit starting to fight Goku a lot more, intense, with the two going back and forth for a while before Goku decides to do a new strategy he has been practicing, with him rushing straight towards Hit. With the time-skipping assassin getting ready to block, Goku then jumps up to his Super Saiyan Blue form, landing one big hit on the assassin and knocking him back a little bit, with Goku then dropping back down to his Super Saiyan God form and rushing away to avoid any hits. And Goku's plan that is done both by Vegeta in the manga and Goku vs Dispo is initiated here. Goku has come up with the most effective way to utilise Super Saiyan Blue without having it mastered, and Super Saiyan God, which he has mastered. Goku is going to use this as his in-between stage until he can fully master Super Saiyan Blue. And this actually gets Hit's full attention, with the pair fighting for a while longer, and Goku's strategy of dropping in and out of these two forms actually leads to him winning. And thanks to this, the victory for Universe 7 is completely confirmed, and there is no arguments about it. Team 7 wins, with this making things go a lot like canon, with Zeno showing up and the group heading back to Earth, with Beerus doing the same wishes in canon. With the group spending a bit of time talking about the tournament, they all explain how they would like to have a rematch with them at some point, especially the likes of Goten, who is one of the few who lost his match, alongside Gohan. The two are a bit bummed out, however they know they will get stronger for next time. With things going like normal, I do want to just cover a quick mini arc before we get to a little bit of a celebration. And we have to cut back to when Videl was back on the lookout with everyone. Around the time she flew off, and everyone had gone into the time chamber, we see the girl flying towards her own home, with her being down at the moment. Eventually she makes it back, and arrives into her own house, seeing her father babysitting Pan. Videl, feeling a bit down, looks at her father. With Hercule picking up on something, he decides he needs to figure out what's going on in her brain, and begins to go over and try and nitpick a little bit, poking and prodding, seeing what he can learn. And after a short while of doing so, he eventually does hear something he doesn't know how to help with. Videl has shared the thought that she feels as if she can never catch up with Gohan, and she'll ever be stuck behind trying to catch up with the Saiyans. And worst of all, she feels that if she doesn't get any stronger, the likes of Gohan might get uninterested in her. Gohan here is a lot more Saiyan-like and always is looking for a good fight, so she's worried that if she doesn't get stronger, Gohan might lose interest. Even though Gohan isn't like this at all, it is something that has been eating at her a little bit. It has slowly grown into something that is quite big in her brain. With Hercule hearing this, he has no idea how to respond to this. He knows Gohan well, and does try to explain to his daughter that Gohan isn't like this, and that she is very strong. However, Videl is clearly in her home brain at this point, with Hercule kind of unsure what to do. He doesn't really have any way to help her. He knows that Videl takes training a lot more seriously than he does. He is the World Martial Arts Champion, but training means a lot more to Videl. After all, that is how her and Gohan bonded. So it is a bit difficult for the likes of Hercule to help here. Now, a while goes by with Hercule trying to comfort his daughter, and eventually he looks over to check on his granddaughter, and that is suddenly when he gets an incredible idea. He looks back at Videl and says to her she should become a Saiyan. Mr. Satan here knows that Chi-Chi was once human, and he knows about the Dragon Balls. Even though he's skeptical about them, he does know of them. And he says how she should become a Saiyan. Videl has a look on her face, with her clearly not okay with this idea, with the girl explaining that she doesn't want to abandon her human side, saying how that would reject her father and mother by changing species altogether. Hercule understands this, but he already has a way around it. He says she should become a half Saiyan, like her daughter. With Videl looking at Pan, kind of amazed. She never really thought of this as an option. Heck, she never even considered becoming a Saiyan. So maybe this is the best way around it. And she was surprised to hear it come from her father of all people. Hercule looking at her, he just wants her to be happy. Videl asks if she would be okay to do this. Would he mind? With Mr. Satan just smiling, saying he just wants her to be happy. However, she needs to understand that Gohan would never do anything like that. With Videl already sort of knowing this, it was just something that had grown into something she couldn't really control. And with a new sort of skip in her step, she heads off, heading towards Capsule Corp, shouting for her father to babysit Pan while she was gone. With Mr. Satan happily doing this, he and Pan get back to playing. Now, Videl flying off towards Capsule Corp, while everyone is in the time chamber, she believes this to be the best time to do it. And eventually she arrives at Capsule Corp and finds Bulma, asking if she could borrow the Dragon Radar. Bulma allows this, obviously, but she is currently working on the Super Dragon Ball radar, and she's not paying too much attention. With Videl asking where she can find the radar, Bulma does describe it and turns around to give her a hand. However, upon turning around, she sees a look that Bulma recognizes from years ago. She looks into Videl's eyes and she remembers seeing Chi-Chi from ages ago. Bulma laughs a bit and she hands over the radar, saying to make sure you phrase the wish right. With Videl asking Bulma not to tell anyone, and Bulma says she won't, she doesn't want any involvement in this. And Videl heads off and collects the balls. It only takes her a few hours, with her deciding to wait until after everyone had left for the tournament, meaning she will be missing out on watching this battle. However, it's the way she feels most comfortable doing it. Eventually, everyone leaves for the tournament and she summons the dragon, with Shenron appearing and asking what wish do they want granted. Videl asks to become a half Saiyan. Shenron, in his mind, sort of does remember the wish from all these years ago, however it's slightly tweaked. He grants the wish, making Videl a half Saiyan. Shenron disappears, and Videl feels a change. She soon grows a tail, and she feels a bit different physically. However, mentally, she feels the same. With her having already had quite a strong desire to grow stronger, that is simmered down quite a bit. Plus, half Saiyans are very different from normal Saiyans. They don't have the same desires and natural instincts, so she doesn't change at all mentally. In fact, the only major change she can see is the fact she has a tail now, and this did take her quite by surprise. After all, she kind of forgets that Gohan has one, after all he hides it most of the time. She does see Chi-Chi's quite a lot and Goten's, however they all hide them quite a bit, so it's something that does take her by surprise a small bit. Now, with her heading back to her house, she doesn't feel majorly different. And once she gets home, the likes of Hercule can see the tail, and knowing that she had gone through with it, asks how she is. Videl says how she feels the same, but she is kind of hungry. With her making some food for the likes of herself and her father, the moment it is all done, she eats most of the food by herself. With this being the first major difference she feels, and knowing this is how Gohan and the Sun family act, she sort of has a uplifting moment. She smiles a bit and soon goes off to teach in the dojo for a bit, with Pan and Hercule watching, and after a short while of teaching, Videl actually feels a lot better from a training session than normal. She feels like she came out of it a good bit stronger than she went into it. It's a very different feeling for her. Another hour or two goes by and eventually the likes of Gohan and the others make it back to Earth, where a party is held for the victory. The likes of Videl and Hercule head over to Capsule Corp, with the pair getting filled in on what happened at the tournament. And during this whole interaction, Videl hides her tail. For now, she doesn't want Gohan or the others to know. She wants to tell it to Gohan in private. Now, the party goes on for a while, and eventually the group starts going home, with Videl and Gohan also going home. And when arriving home, Gohan would eventually see her tail. Gohan would know the tail is a Saiyan trait here, unlike what Goku knew in canon, and he would ask about it, ask how she got one. However, he already does have a bit of a theory. With Videl explaining what has been going on in her head and what she did, Gohan looks at his wife with a funny look, saying how she was incredibly strong and there was no way on earth he would get bored of her. She was probably the strongest, if not one of them, strongest Earthling to ever live. With this getting a smile out of his wife, who then looks a bit sad. However, Gohan soon says how he won't complain too much about the change though, as he looks around his wife, who has now changed a bit. It just means he can have a funner fight. After all, he doesn't get to train with his family anymore. So getting to train with another Super Saiyan could be fun. It's been a while. With Videl getting a bit excited at hearing this, the pair start talking over teaching Videl some of these transformations. And this actually gets the two to get a good bit closer. These two were very, very close anyway, thanks to their love for martial arts. But now Videl and Gohan have clicked a little bit more. And Videl is excited to start working on learning some of the transformations her husband knows. Now, with this done, this is the mini arc I wanted to cover over. And we'll head into the next arc now. Earth enters a bit of a time of peace. Nothing happens for a while. The Saiyans who have been training with Whis head off to train with him. The likes of Piccolo, Gohan and Videl all start working on growing stronger. Gohan is trying to teach Videl how to unlock Super Saiyan, however she has got a lot to learn before she can do it. And Piccolo is already working on his own thing after watching the tournament. He has an idea of what he wants to try. But while it might be peaceful here, off in the future timeline, we see three distant powers holding off in a fight against a shadowy figure. And upon getting closer, we see our future fighters holding off against something that isn't quite clear, with the likes of future Chi-Chi telling the boys to be ready to run. Goten, gritting his teeth, rushes straight towards the person in front of them, with Trunks rushing in behind. The two fight in perfect sync and have a short clash with this person. However, it's clear the person in the smoke has the advantage. Eventually, Chi-Chi flies out right in front of them and shouts out solar flare, blinding the person who is in the battle with them, and then her hammering him straight into the ground. With she then looking towards the boys, she shouts run, and they all begin to rush off into a pretty distant area. With them eventually landing and cutting off their power, they all take a moment to breathe. They're all pretty bruised up, and all of them are pretty damaged. In their base forms, their power is pretty much undetectable once their ki is cut off, and this person who's chasing them soon flies overhead. The three sign relief before rushing off towards an underground bunker nearby. And after a short while of walking, we see the likes of future Bulma working on the time machine. With the likes of Bulma turning around to see the group, she asks if everyone's okay, with them all being fine but have some minor injuries. And they have lost a good bit of energy after that fight. The three resting for a short while, eventually Bulma finishes off the fuel for the time machine. With her announcing this, the group get ready to go through with their plan. They have all planned to go back and bring reinforcements to help fight off the person wearing a loved one's face. However, they need to make sure they do this correctly. The plan is to send off Chi-Chi to the past. She is currently the weakest of the group, so if something was to happen, Trunks and Goten will have the better chance of winning. It took a lot of fighting to get Chi-Chi to agree to do this, however she eventually did agree. Now, the plan is to send Trunks and Goten flying out as fast as they can to draw the attention of Black. With them getting close to the door, both getting ready to fly off, Chi-Chi seeing them get there, wishes her son and student good luck. With Bulma doing the same, the two boys eventually jump up to Super Saiyan 2 and rush off at breakneck speeds. With Chi-Chi and Bulma seeing this, they run off towards Capsule Corp. With the likes of Black seeing them fly off, he eventually chases after them, with Bulma and Chi-Chi making a run straight towards Capsule Corp. Them eventually making it there, and they see Mai opening the door for them and gesturing for them to hurry up. With them all making it into the building, Bulma starts filling the time machine with some fuel, and the likes of Chi-Chi keeps a close watch on what she can sense between Goten and Trunks' power. Eventually, she feels them jump upwards massively in power. Knowing that a fight had begun, she almost wants to rush off and help them, however she soon senses the energy of the boys lower down, as if they had just avoided the fight, and soon she feels it disappearing much further into the distance. She's happy they managed to pull an escape off and not had to fight. With the machine being fully refueled, Bulma shouts out for Chi-Chi to get into the time machine now. The woman doing so, she sits into the time machine and starts setting up everything. She knows when she needs to head back. With Chi-Chi already knowing how to work order the machine, she takes off and heads to the past. Before she leaves, she senses the power of Goten and Trunks drop to their base and then disappear. She knows they managed to get away, and she's now on her way to the past. With the likes of Bulma and Mai running off to hide after this. Eventually, future Chi-Chi arrives into a city she was just in. However, everything is still intact. It's green and beautiful, unlike the distorted future she was just in. With a time machine landing outside of Capsule Corp, Chi-Chi takes a moment to sense around the planet, and she can't find any powers she recognises other than the likes of the humans, Piccolo, and Bulma. She's confused and panics. She runs into Capsule Corp and eventually finds Bulma after pushing around some scientists. With Bulma seeing Chi-Chi, she asks what she's doing back, and then asks where Vegeta is, before looking again and seeing that this is not her Chi-Chi, this is future Chi-Chi. The likes of future Chi-Chi shouting out that she needs their help, where is everyone? With Bulma sort of now understanding what's going on and seeing how messed up her friend is, she quickly gets hold of Whis, who is currently training the Saiyans. With Bulma being able to be heard from all the other Saiyans, when the likes of Goku, Gohan, and Chi-Chi of the present all hear that future Chi-Chi is back, they all agree to head back very fastly. However, it's going to take them a bit of time, as Goku doesn't have instant transmission here. Now, with them all on their way back, and Bulma now tending to some of future Chi-Chi's wounds, soon a few people show up, with the likes of Gohan, Piccolo and Videl all showing up. After sensing future Chi-Chi's power, Gohan recognised it as his future mother's counterpart, and he asks what's happening when arriving. Chi-Chi takes a moment to look over everyone, with her soon figuring out the person in front of her is Gohan, but can't understand why she can't sense his ki, but soon gets on to explain what happened in the future. Gohan assumes that maybe it's Boo in their timeline, and asks if it was so. However, Chi-Chi soon explains how Boo was never revived. They dealt with the Margin servants very easily, and then the Kaioshin dealt with Boo's egg. This is something different. This is something terrible. With her explaining how she doesn't quite understand it, but someone is attacking the future, who looks just like your father. With everyone confused to hear this, Gohan tries to figure out what's going on, and it's clear that seeing Goku around, destroying the place he grew up in, and attacking his wife has really messed with Chi-Chi's brain a bit. It's a hard subject for her to talk about. Now, with everyone confused, the likes of Videl ask Piccolo what's happening with this time travel stuff. Piccolo helps fill in what happened with the androids years ago, and Videl is soon caught up. Whereas the likes of Chi-Chi had filled Gohan in on everything she knows about this black person. With Gohan caught up, he says how he wants to help, and they will help. However, the best way to win would be to wait for the others, and then make a plan. But you've got our backup here. Don't worry about this. With future Chi-Chi happy to hear this, she sort of lays down a little bit, before asking Bulma, the present timeline, if she could make some more fuel for the time machine. For throwing over the blueprints for the time machine quickly, Bulma says that she will be able to, and Chi-Chi's injuries are getting a bit too much now. They haven't been trapped properly in a while, and Gohan asks Piccolo to go grab some sensu beans. With the Namekian doing so, the group start waiting around for the other Saiyans. However, this is where I'm leaving this part. I hope people don't mind that I have made Videl a Saiyan for a start. I will be playing with it a bit later on, but for now, this is what I'm doing with it. The reason I made her a Saiyan was a few reasons. Well, one, I did have a script writ out where she went to the Kaioshins and got her potential unlocked instead. However, I felt like that was a much more roundabout to get it. She would have to break the Z sword, and then she would have to obviously get in contact with the Kaioshins. It felt like it was a lot more workaround than just making her a Saiyan. And I could have given her the Kaioken as well, but I never really had an idea of how to do that myself. So yeah, this has been a really awkward part for me to write. There was, like I said, there was two variations. One where she became a Saiyan, and then there's one where she got just the ultimate form. It's very weird, but I am happy with the Saiyan one more. Another reason which made me do it was I'm never going to get an opportunity to turn Videl into a Saiyan again. When on earth will I get this opportunity again? I don't know. And I feel like this is a fun way to kind of keep her relevant, even though Videl is incredibly strong in her own right, and she probably would have made the Tournament of Power list when I got round to that saga. But yeah, I just felt like making her a Saiyan. Like I said, not going to get this opportunity again. So I just wanted to take it. I know this does mean that most of my cast are Saiyans, and that can be quite boring, but I just, no. They are like one of the most effective race, and Videl being a half Saiyan means that she's a bit different. But I do want to do something with the normal humans, whether I figure out my own thing for that. I don't really want to turn them into Saiyans. I don't know, I'll figure out my own thing for the normal humans. I do want to do something with them. Been wanting to do something with them since I started my channel. Hence why my first video was what if the Z Fighters train with Goku. And that was okay for a while. However, I kept the Saiyans alive, and looking back at it, I probably should have killed Vegeta, Nappa, and Raditz, because it would have made the humans a bit more relevant. And yeah, I'm just thinking about things I should have done, but I'm happy with how that what if's going. I'm happy with how this one's going. I'm looking forward to doing the Tournament of Power, the Goku Black arc, and I'll be covering the Moro arc in this. What if? Because I think there's going to be a few changes, and I'm looking forward to doing it, but I will really need to reread it, just because I haven't reread it since it came out. I won't be doing the new arc because we've got like 2 chapters of it. I think it's 3 actually, probably lowballing it. But yeah, I do hope everyone enjoyed this bit. If you've listened to me waffle on at this end of it, thank you very much. You clearly are very patient, but I do hope everyone enjoyed this part. I hope everyone's looking forward to seeing what happens in the Goku Black arc. For the most part, I hope you all have a great day or a good night, and hopefully I'll see you next time.